আসসালামু আলাইকুম ম্যাডাম ফারজানা, নুসরাত জাহান, সবাই ভালো আছি তো? ক্যাপ্টেন কে সেকশনের? মামুন? জি, নুসরাত জাহান ম্যাডাম, জি। আব্দুল
Yes,
হালিম
sir.
ভাই বলছিলাম। হ্যাঁ, ভালো না সবাই আমরা?
Yes, sir. We are all well.
ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। আমার মনে হয় ম্যাডামরা আগে আসেন, আমাদের সব রেকর্ডিং থাকে তো। যেমন ফারজানা ম্যাডাম, নুসরাত ম্যাডাম, ভেরি সিনসিয়ার। And may I request you all, our respected and beloved, try to come as early as possible. আমরা যে শিডিউলটা একটু করে রাখছি, এক হলো জুমাবার, সেকেন্ড হচ্ছে যে ছাত্ররা একটু ধীর স্থির ভাবে আসতেছেন, এই জন্য হয়তো 3:30টায় শুরু করে দেব। আচ্ছা, বাই দ্য ওয়ে, কিছু আমার কথা শোনা যায় নুসরাত ম্যাডাম?
Yes, sir. We are listening to you.
ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ ফর ইউর কাইন্ড রেসপন্স। এটা হলো কি, যে যেটা বলি, পরীক্ষা, ইউ ডোন্ট থিঙ্ক ইউ হ্যাভ টিল ইনস্ট্যান্স, এখন পর্যন্ত পরীক্ষা পিছাবে না, এ ধরনের আমরা না করি যে পরীক্ষা পিছিয়ে যাবে, কারণ শিডিউল দেওয়া আছে। দৈবাত ক্রম বলে আনফোরসিন সিচুয়েশন ছাড়া এগুলো এখন পর্যন্ত চিন্তা না করি, বিকজ উই আর গোয়িং টু অলসো সেলিব্রেট দ্য ঈদুল আজহা ভেরি সুন। আমরা প্র্যাকটিস যেটা 8 তারিখ পর্যন্ত ক্লাস রাখবো অ্যাজ ইউজুয়াল, 9, 10, 11 আবার 12 থেকে হয়তো আমরা অনলাইনে ক্লাস, যে পরীক্ষার সামনে যতদূর পারা যায়, as far as could, you also join the sessions and also promote you in learning and gear up to sit for the exam with acute preparation, my dear sir and madam. তো কাজে এই একটু মাথায় রাখি, যারা যাবেন দূর দূরান্তে অথবা যান, as usual এভাবে চিন্তা রাখি, বাট উইল অলসো টেক ইউর গুড অ্যাডভাইসেস। আমার সাথে ক্যাপ্টেনদের সরকার ভাইয়ের মাধ্যমে যোগাযোগ, যে 10 তারিখ 9 বন্ধ, 9, 10, 11 such as গভর্নমেন্ট সিস্টেমস, 8 পর্যন্ত অনলাইনের ক্লাস চলুক শুক্রবার পর্যন্ত, তারপরে 12 তারিখে আবার শুরু করি। কারণ পরীক্ষা 16 তারিখ, এই জন্য যে কোনো একটি দিন, যদিও আপনারা সাবজেক্ট ওয়াইজ পরীক্ষা দিচ্ছেন, আমার কাছে আপনাদের এগুলো রিকমেন্ডেশন লাগে যে আপনাদের অ্যাটেন্ডেন্স গুলো, অনগোয়িং সিচুয়েশন, ক্লাস এলিজিবিলিটি আপনারা ফিট কিনা, এই জন্য আমার রিকমেন্ডেশন লাগে। আমার কাছে অলরেডি 482, এই যে আপনারা যারা ক্লাসে আছেন ইনক্লুডিং আগের যারা সার্টিফিকেট রিসিভ করেনি অথচ এলিজিবল হয় নাই, এদের এসেছে। আমি হয়তো সব মঙ্গলবারে ওটা চেক করব সরকার ভাইয়ের মাধ্যমে, দিয়ে আমরা রিপোর্ট দেব। তাহলে যেটা বলতে চাইলাম যে ক্লাসগুলো আপনার যতদূর পারেন করে নেন, যে সাবজেক্টই যেভাবেই আপনারা পরীক্ষা দেন না কেন, আপনার জন্য ক্লাসটা আমার মনে হয় গুরুত্বপূর্ণ হবে। আপনি যেভাবে বুঝেন অথবা না বুঝেন, একা একা এই সিনিয়র লেভেলে একটু অসুবিধা, সার্টিফিকেট লেভেলেও হয়তো এদিক সেদিক করে বা বুঝে সুঝে যাবে, কিন্তু বিশেষ করে দিস ইজ অ্যাকচুয়ালি having the traditional systems and further of your, I think, চলে আসি and further of your, I think, creative of response in the exam. কাজেই যেটা বলতে চাইলাম যে আমরা একটু ওভাবে চিন্তা ভাবনা করে আগাবো। এই গেল। আর যদি ছুটি ছাটার ব্যাপারে আগাম বা বেশি কিছু চান তাহলে বলবেন, অসুবিধা নাই। দ্যাট মিনস what will be proposed by you, we will also go through and just to carry on based all upon you. কাজে আপনারা যা বলবেন ওইভাবে আমরা আগাবো, অসুবিধা নাই। 3 দিন আপাতত মনে হয় ভালো, যেহেতু ক্যাপ্টেনরা বললেন, বাট আপনারা ইউ আর অল ক্যাপ্টেন। এই না, একটা ডিসিপ্লিন ধরে রাখার জন্য ক্যাপ্টেন করা, এটা আবার ভেবেন না যে ওনারাই সব করতেছে, না, এরকম না। তো এই জন্য আমরা কমিউনিকেশন করি, যদিও আমি মাঝে মধ্যে আপনাদের সামনে আসি, বারবার আসা, ক্লাস হ্যাম্পার করা ঠিক না। এই জন্য যে কোনো প্রবলেমে মেল পাই, মেলের রেসপন্স দিই। সিনিয়র যারা ভাই আছেন, বিশেষ করে আমার অন্যান্য যারা আছেন পরিচিত সবাই, খুব কষ্ট হচ্ছে বুঝি। হ্যাঁ, এভাবেই একটু আগাতে হবে। আর সবকিছু তো আসলে এখন আপনারা আমাদের চেয়ে ভালো বুঝবেন, কারণ আমার চাকরিতে আসার আগেও অনেক সিনিয়র ভাই দেখলাম রেকর্ড করে found and go to throw. You are actually struggling. এই জন্য দোয়া থাকলো। আর আমাদের প্রতি দোয়া রাখেন, আমরা তো আছি আপনাদের সঙ্গে। এত নার্ভাস, স্যারকে তো পাঠালাম। স্যার, আদাব স্যার। স্যার, না আমি তো আবার ফরওয়ার্ড করে দিচ্ছি স্যার, আবার দিচ্ছি। হ্যাঁ প্লিজ, একবার পাঠিয়েছি, আবার দিচ্ছি। একটু আমি স্যারকে পাঠিয়ে দিই, উনি মনে হয় ভুলে গেছে, আবার দিচ্ছি। পাঠিয়ে দিয়েছি। তো যেটা বলতে চাচ্ছি যে রেকর্ডিং যেগুলো, সেটা আমাদের রঞ্জন স্যার ছাড়া যদিও সেকশনে হয়ে থাকে বা না, এগুলো সবগুলোই পাবেন। না পেলেও ক্যাপ্টেনকে বলেন, ক্যাপ্টেন ভাই আমাদের সরকার ভাইকে বলা আছে, সরকার ভাই তো এটার হেড, ওনার কাছে থাকে, আমি বলে দিছি। বাট ভালো, উনি সরকার ভাই আমাদের খুবই ভালো সম্মানিত, এবং আমাদের ইনস্টিটিউটের কি বলবো যে একজন ভালো মানুষ, ভালো অফিসারের একজন। এই জন্য বললেই দিবে। তো ব্যস্ত থাকে একটু, হয়তো একটু পরে আগে এভাবে আপনারা নিয়ে নেন। আর পরীক্ষা আগাই, ক্লাস চলুক যতদূর পারা যায়। আমরা পরীক্ষার অ্যাটেন্ডেন্সে একটু থেকেন, অ্যাটেন্ডেন্স একদম জিরো হলে তো রেকমেন্ডেশন করা কষ্ট হয়ে পড়ে। বাট আমাদের এই ধরনের ইয়ে নাই আপনাকে আটকিয়ে রাখার, পরীক্ষা দিবেন এই ধরনের আমরা আশা রাখি। এমন না হয় যে পরীক্ষার সামনে আমি ক্লাসে আসলাম না, পরে এই অ্যাটেন্ডেন্সটা আবার রেকর্ডিং, তো এই জন্য একটু গুরুত্ব রেখেন আর কি। আর ক্লাস আপনারাই বলবেন ভালো কি খারাপ হচ্ছে। আমার মনে হয় those the respected faculties are coming with their proper preparation and try to the best promotive চেষ্টা তো করতেছেন। আমার কাছে যেটা মনে হয় যে কারো এই ধরনের নেয়, আর রুটিনের একটু তারতম্য হয় মাঝে মধ্যে, কারণ এখানে রেন্ডারিং সার্ভিস। আপনাদের সদা অবগতি বলে অনেক টিচার আছে তারা রিমুনারেশন নেন না, আপনার এখানেই আছে, কিছু দেওয়ার জন্য আসেন। যেটা না ভাবি যে এই অন্য কিছু ইয়েতে থাকে। এই জন্য মে আই রিকোয়েস্ট, মাই ডিয়ার ইউ অল, যে একটু ইউ আর ভেরি, আই থিঙ্ক সেন্সিবল, দ্যাট মিনস উইথ হার্ট অ্যান্ড পজিটিভ সেন্সেস। তো কাজেই একটু ইয়ে থাকি। আর ক্লাসগুলো সবাই করতেছেন, হয়তো একটু আগে পিছিয়ে আসেন, এই no need to get worried, কাজেই এতে ইয়ে নাই। না হলে আপনি ইয়ে নেবেন রেকর্ডিং দেখে, আর ক্লাসে থাকলে অবশ্যই ভালো থাকবেন। একটা ভালো দিক যে আমাদের মেয়েরা, আমাদের ম্যাডামরা, আমাদের ছাত্রীরা beloved and respected, আগে চলে আসেন, বিশ্বাস করেন। আমি সেদিন দেখলাম, জাস্ট টু অলসো ইন্সপিরেশন, যে সার্টিফিকেট লেভেলে 11 জন উপস্থিতির ভিতরে আমাদের 7 জন মেয়ে আগে একদম ডট 7টায় মাঝে মধ্যে আসি, তো একটু ছাত্ররা কথাবার্তা বলতে চায়, আমাকেও খুঁজে, আবার অনেক কিছু ইনস্টিটিউটের অ্যাক্টিভিটিস আপনাদের জানান দেওয়ার জন্য আসতে হয়। আমাদের বলতে চাইলাম মেয়েরা যারা, ছাত্রীরা যারা, দেখা যায় যে খুব এখন এরকম না, ওনারাও হয়তো ফার্মে থাকেন, কাজে থাকেন, এই কাজে দে আর নট অ্যাকচুয়ালি লিজার টাইম, কাজে ওই ধরনের তারা নাই। আমি যেটা বলতে চাইবো যে আমাদের পাশের হারও বেড়ে গেছে, আমাদের ক্লাসের উপস্থিতি তো বেড়ে গেছে, লেখাপড়ার মানও বেড়ে গেছে, যে ডিজিটালাইজেশনের এটা অভ্যস্ত হয়ে গেছে। সেদিন আমি পরে আসবো, আমাদের পরম শ্রদ্ধেয় স্যার হয়তো অলরেডি চলে আসছেন বা আসবেন। তো আমি যেটা বলি যে অনলাইনটা অনেকে কিন্তু গ্রহণ করে, ফিজিক্যাল করোনা তো এমনি বেড়ে গেল এখন, তো অনলাইনেও অনেকে স্বাচ্ছন্দ্য ফিল করতেছে। বলা হতো ইট ইজ সেইড দ্যাট অনলাইন ক্লাস উইল নট অ্যাকচুয়ালি ইফেক্টিভ, মনে হয় এরকম কিনা। আবার ওটা ঠিকই আছে, ফিজিক্যাল অবশ্যই বলতে চাচ্ছি যে এই সময়ের ইয়েতে এবং আমাদের যে বিজিনেস, উই আর প্রিঅকুপাইড অল দ্য সিচুয়েশন, এটাও চলার পথে একটা পরম সহায়ক ইনভেনশন বলে। তো অনেক ধন্যবাদ সকলকে, কথা বললাম, একটু দেখা দিলাম। আর আবারও বলি, যারা আছেন, বিশেষ করে সেদিন আমি দেখলাম যে পরীক্ষা দিবেন তো সব, এগুলো দেখে রিপোর্ট দিতে হয় পরীক্ষা শাখায়। আমাদের অনেক সিনিয়র ভাইরা আছেন, বোনেরা আছেন, এজন্য আমরা আছি, দোয়া করতেছি, আপনারা একটু চেষ্টা করেন, আর ক্লাস করতেছেন, পরীক্ষা দিবেন, কাজে ভয় নাই, আল্লাহ ভরসা। তো আমি মনে হয় একটু যাই আজকে। টুডে সেশন অলসো স্পেশাল সেশন, and it's a pleasure for you, in the interest of your running studies, that our topmost resource and our guardian, our sir, বাবু শুভাশিস বোস, আমাদের পরম শ্রদ্ধেয় স্যার, কষ্ট করে এই দেখেন শুক্রবারে সেশনগুলো নিচ্ছেন, কালকে আপনাদের সিনপসিসটাও লিখে দিলেন, কোশ্চেনারি যেগুলো তৈরি করে দিচ্ছেন, সব কিছু অ্যানালাইসিস রিসার্চের মতো করে। কাজে এই সেশনটা আপনারা একটু গুরুত্ব রেখেন, এটা চলুক যতদিন পারা যায়, আপনারা যাবেন, আপনাদের নেক্সট যারা আসবে শিক্ষক কিছু ট্যাক্সেশন তো পার্ট অ্যান্ড পার্সেল নাও দ্য সেম প্রফেশন, অ্যান্ড ইভেন ডেইলি লাইভলিহুড অ্যাক্টিভিটিস, আমাদের জীবনযাত্রা তো চলে আসছে, ব্যাট এই সেই অমুক, কাস্টমসে যারা বিদেশ টিদেশ, অনেক কিছু, তো ট্যাক্সেশন তো আছেই। তো এই জন্য এটাকে একটু গুরুত্ব দিয়ে ভালোভাবে সবাই পরীক্ষা অলরেডি করে ফেলেছেন, ইয়েতে থাকি, আর ক্লাসটা ইফেক্টিভ করি, মোস্ট ইফেক্টিভ করি, আর আবার আসবো, এসে নেব, আর ঈদের তো ওইভাবেই থাক, যেভাবে ক্যালেন্ডারে আছে আমরা এইভাবে যাই। ফার্দার কিছু বলার আছে কিনা, না থাকলে হয়তো স্যারকে আমি রিকোয়েস্ট করব যে স্যার চলে আসবেন, আসরের নামাজ বা আপনাদের স্যারের সাথে আলাপ করে করে। ফারজানা ম্যাডাম, নুসরাত, হারুন ভাই, পরম শ্রদ্ধেয় তৌসিফ, মাহবুবা, আপনারা একটু সরব থেকে স্যারকে আপনারা, if you need require to also keep your, I think, asking matter, proposal or anything, you may speak বাংলা, প্রয়োজন মনে করেন বাংলাতে বলে, অসুবিধা নাই, বাট সেশনটা মিডিয়াম অফ ইনস্ট্রাকশন ইংরেজি থাক, আন্ডার গাইডেন্স অফ আওয়ার স্যার। আমরা স্যারের ক্লাসে আমাদের এই কি বলে যে ইনফ্লুয়েন্স অফ ইংলিশ, ফার্দার কমিউনিকেশন অফ ইংলিশ, এটা একটু বাড়িয়ে নেই ইনশাআল্লাহ।
স্যার আসসালামু আলাইকুম। স্যার আমি মুসলিউদ্দিন বলছিলাম।
ভাই বলেন মোস্তাফিজ, স্যারকে একটু
স্যার আপনার সাথে একটু কথা বলার জন্য। স্যার স্যার আমাদের যেভাবে চলতেছে স্যার, এইভাবে তো স্যার কিছু সাবজেক্টের চ্যাপ্টার বাকি থাকবে স্যার, পরীক্ষার আগে। স্যার পরীক্ষার পরে কি স্যার এগুলো কি পড়ানো হবে স্যার?
আপাতত এটা চলুক, আমরা যেটা বলি আসলে উদ্দিন, থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। পরীক্ষা চলে গেলে ক্লাসের গুরুত্ব কম থাকে, এক। সেকেন্ড হচ্ছে যতদূর পারি আমরা একটু শিডিউল গুলো নিয়ে নিই, অ্যান্ড আর একটা হচ্ছে যে কি বলবে যে আপনার পরীক্ষা যেহেতু সাবজেক্ট ওয়াইজ, তো জন্য ওই আঙ্গিকেই আসি। আর আমরা যেটা দেখলাম, দ্যাট ফর ইনফরমেশন, সাত সাবজেক্টে না, এখন সাবজেক্ট ওয়াইজ গুলো সব বেশি, but we'll keep value and also discuss about this matter and to inform you later. আপাতত যেগুলো ক্লাস আছে 16 তারিখ, এখন অনেক দেরি, আমরা চেষ্টা করি করে, আর পরীক্ষা যখন আসে তখন পরীক্ষা পরীক্ষার আগে ক্লাসটা ইয়ে করা ভালো। বাট ভাই মসনুদ্দিন, ভেরি গুড অ্যাডভাইসেস, উইল অলসো ইনফর্ম ইউ লেটার ইন কনসাল্টিং উইথ ইউ,
ওকে
আপনাদের
স্যার।
সাথে আলাপ করে।
স্যার আমাদের অ্যাকাউন্টিং আর স্ট্র্যাটেজির অনেকগুলো চ্যাপ্টার বাকি আছে, যা মনে
অসুবিধা
হচ্ছে
নাই, ক্লাস
মানে
তো আমার মনে হয়
জি স্যার।
অ্যাকাউন্টিং যেগুলো আছে এগুলো অ্যাকাউন্টিং, অডিট অ্যাসুরেন্স, আমি বলি মেন সাবজেক্ট গুলো এফএম, এগুলো হয়তো আপনার কভারেবল হবে ইনশাআল্লাহ। আর আপনারা ওইটা একটু কষ্ট হয়ে যায়, আর একটা সেশন যদি সকালে নিতেন না ভালো হতো। যেমন অ্যাডভান্সরা ওনারা তো সিনিয়র চার্টার্ড অ্যাকাউন্টেন্ট হতে যায়, ওই জন্য সকালে রুটিন দেখবেন সকালে ওনাদের ক্লাস হয়ে যায়, এই জন্য ওনারা আর একটা সেশন নিয়ে নিছে যে আমরা তাড়াতাড়ি শেষ করে দিই। হ্যাঁ, যেভাবে আপনারা নিচ্ছেন নেন, ক্লাস চলুন। So may I request also please go through of today's session, especially who is the synopsis provided you yesterday. গতকাল দিলাম, একটু দেখে নিব আর স্যারের সাথে এইভাবে ইয়ে করবো, আর একটু রেসপন্স করবেন, রেসপন্সিভ করলে সেশনটা আরো হৃদয়কারী, অ্যাট্রাক্টেবল, এনজয়েবল হবে। ইউ আর অলসো আই থিঙ্ক ভেরি ট্যালেন্টেড গাই, কাজে অসুবিধা হবে না। তো আমি বিদায় নিচ্ছি, বাসার ভাই সহ শওকত ভাই সবাই, আর স্যারকে রিকোয়েস্ট করবো এখন। তো ঠিক আছে, থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার, আই এম ইউর হালিম স্যার, and may I request just to come and also start your valuable sessions, please. Other sir, we are seeing you sir, you may kindly start, and no problem, all students are also have in this session, kindly sir please. আমি বিদায় নিলাম, আর শুরু করি। ফারজানা ম্যাডাম, সুদীপ্ত বাবু প্লিজ, আল্লাহ হাফেজ। আদাব স্যার।
Good afternoon to everybody. Welcome to this session.
Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. We had 1 or 2 classes with you, maybe, or 3 classes, I'm not sure, but this is also one of the classes which is scheduled by the Student Counseling Department. And this is a new synopsis which has been given to you already by the department. Hopefully you got it and you have gone through it. If you have already gone through it, then you will understand what is said in questions. I set 7 questions here. First question, if you go through it, it is, who is the responsible authority to revise the erroneous order made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes? That means DCT. Whether the Commissioner of Taxes can revise the erroneous order framed by the DCT. What are the reasons for revision of the assessment orders? Is it lawful on the part of the Joint Commissioner or the Commissioner of Taxes to enhance the assessed income? What is the time limit for revision of the assessment order by the Joint Commissioner or the Commissioner of Taxes? How can income be misclassified? So short questions are here, and the relevant section, if you go through it, you will be able to answer all the questions effectively and correctly. So who is the responsible authority to revise the erroneous order made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes? What is an erroneous order? Do you understand what is meant by an erroneous order? Erroneous, as you understand that era, from era, this is erroneous. That means the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes made an error, or he made a mistake. That means we can say that this is not correct, this is incorrect in some way or other. So So that's why this is erroneous. The city might have missed one source of income to take into account, or the city might have misclassified one of the sources of income, or he made a wrong calculation, or the rate of tax he has applied to the total income was not correct, or he could not calculate the simple interest as per legal provision. So in that way, the order might be erroneous. So this is okay for you? And who can revise the erroneous order? So erroneous order must be made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. It means that Deputy Commissioner of Taxes or Assistant Commissioner of Taxes or an extra Assistant Commissioner of Taxes. One of the three officers can make the assessment order because they are responsible for making assessments, and they are in general called assessing officers. So an assessing officer is primarily responsible for making assessments. That's why any of them could make an assessment order, and he or she could make a mistake. Such an order is there. The supervising authority. Supervising authority means the inspecting joint commissioner of taxes or inspecting additional commissioner of taxes. They are the supervising authorities. But in some cases, commissioner himself is the supervising authority, but generally he is not. He just guides the officers, and every officer is under him because he is the chief of the zone. So the supervising authority is responsible for revising the erroneous assessment order. Who are the supervising authorities? I have mentioned to you. Inspecting Joint Commissioner of Taxes or the Inspecting Additional Commissioner of Taxes, they are the supervising authorities. That is, they are supervising the activities of the DCT. That means Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So they are responsible for revising the erroneous assessment order. So when I say Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, Deputy Commissioner of Taxes includes Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, Assistant Commissioner of Taxes, and Extra Assistant Commissioner of Taxes. So when I mention Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, it can include anybody. That is, any one of the three. And when I say Inspecting Joint Commissioner of Taxes, this also includes Inspecting Additional Commissioner of Taxes. This is as per law. And these are the two officers, Inspecting Joint Commissioner of Taxes and the Inspecting Additional Commissioner of Taxes. They are the supervising officers, and they are responsible for revising the erroneous assessment order. But sometimes the Commissioner of Taxes can also revise the assessment order, because when the assessment is made not by the DCT but by any higher authority, say a Joint Commissioner of Taxes or an Inspecting Joint Commissioner of Taxes, when a Joint Commissioner of Taxes makes an assessment, in that case, the order passed by him would be revised by the Commissioner of Taxes, because a Joint Commissioner's assessment order cannot be revised by another Joint Commissioner, because they are in the equal rank, or they have got the same power. Also, they are in the same scale. So that's why Joint Commissioner's assessment order should be revised by the Commissioner of Taxes. So that's why when the question is asked, who can revise the assessment order framed by the DCT? When assessment order is made by the DCT, it should be revised by the Inspecting Joint Commissioner of Taxes or Inspecting Additional Commissioner of Taxes, or whenever an assessment order is made by an officer above the rank of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. In that case, the Commissioner of Taxes is responsible for revising the assessment order. So you have to answer that way. But now you can ask me one question, whether an officer above the rank of a DCT can make an assessment order. If so, how can he do that? Any idea about that? The Inspecting Joint Commissioner of Taxes or the Inspecting Additional Commissioner of Taxes can be given the authority to make an assessment. And it is said in Section 10. If you read Section 10 of the Income Tax Ordinance 1984, you will find it. Exercise of assessment functions by the Inspecting Joint Commissioners and the Inspecting Additional Commissioners. This is Section 10. The Commissioner may, with prior approval of the board, by general or a special order in writing, direct that in respect of all or any proceedings relating to specified cases or classes of cases, or specified persons of classes of persons within his jurisdiction, the powers and functions of the Deputy Commissioners of Taxes, the Inspecting Joint Commissioner, the Inspecting Additional Commissioner, and the Commissioner under this ordinance shall be exercised by the Inspecting Joint Commissioner, the Inspecting Additional Commissioner, the Commissioner, and the Board, respectively, and for the purpose of any proceeding in respect of such cases or persons reference in this ordinance or the rules made thereunder to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, the Inspecting Joint Commissioner, the Inspecting Additional Commissioner, or the Commissioner shall be deemed to be references to the Inspecting Joint Commissioner, the Inspecting Additional Commissioner, the Commissioner, and the Board, respectively. Here, to make it simple, we can say that the Commissioner of Taxes can issue an order. He can issue a special order or a general order giving authority to the Inspecting Joint Commissioner or Inspecting Additional Commissioner to exercise the powers of a Deputy Commissioner of Taxes in case of some of the SSCs, maybe a class of SSCs or some mentioned SSCs. And he should issue that order to the respective Inspecting Joint Commissioner or Inspecting Additional Commissioner with the prior approval of the National Board of Revenue. That means he has to seek the permission of the National Board of Revenue to give power to the Inspecting Joint Commissioner or Additional Commissioner to exercise the functions of a Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. That means to make assessment for some specific cases. That means, let us suppose that all the travel agencies would be assessed by the Inspecting Additional Commissioner of Taxes or Inspecting Joint Commissioner of Taxes, something like that. All the travel agencies in Dhaka city, they would be assessed by the Inspecting Joint or Additional Commissioner of Taxes. Or it could be said that all the foreign companies operating business in Dhaka city, would be assessed by the inspecting joint or additional commissioner of taxes, exercising the power of a deputy commissioner of taxes. That could be said. And in that circumstance, the inspecting joint commissioner or additional commissioner would make the assessment. So when he makes the assessment, and if the assessment order for some reason is erroneous or found to be erroneous, in that case, the revisionary power, that means to revise the assessment order, lies with the commissioner of taxes. So you can say that there are three kinds of officers who are responsible for revising the assessment orders made by the deputy commissioners of taxes. And in some cases, the assessment orders made by the joint commissioners of taxes are to be revised by the commissioner of taxes. So here you have seen that the power could be exercised by the joint commissioner under section 10. Now, the revision of the erroneous assessment order, that is under section 120. That means section 120 gives power to the inspecting joint commissioner or inspecting additional commissioner or the commissioner of taxes to revise the erroneous assessment order. So in the question, what we said actually, what are the reasons for revision of the assessment orders? What are the reasons? The reasons should be like this. The order is erroneous. Some mistakes have been committed by the DCT. The wrong rate of tax has been applied to the total income, or tax calculated was not correct, or it was under-assessed for some reason or other, and one income has been treated as exempted, although it was not. So that was erroneous, or that was mistaken. These are the reasons why the order made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes could be revised by the inspecting joint commissioner or the inspecting additional commissioner of taxes or by the commissioner of taxes in certain cases. Okay. Is it lawful on the part of the joint commissioner or the commissioner of taxes to enhance the assessed income? Yes, it is lawful, because when it is found that the assessment is not correct, or under assessment has been made, or tax calculation has been wrongly done, of course, the tax could be enhanced or the income could be enhanced, because income might have been escaped from the eye of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So in that case, when the escaped income is taken into account, of course, the total income will increase. The enhancement of income is also possible. So this is lawful. You can say that this is lawful. And what is the time limit for revision of the assessment order by the Joint Commission or the Commissioner of Taxes? So let us see section 120. You will find all the answers there. If you have the income tax ordinance with you right at this moment, you can also have a look at the relevant section, that is 120. 120, the title of the section is power of commissioner or inspecting joint commissioner to revise the erroneous order. What is said here? The inspecting joint commissioner may call for and examine the record of any proceeding under this ordinance if he considers that any order passed therein by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes is erroneous, insofar as it is prejudicial to the interest of the revenue. So it is also said here that the order is erroneous, and at the same time, it can be said that it is prejudicial to the interest of the revenue. That means this is not actually as per law for realizing revenue properly. Prejudicial means this is affecting the revenue of the government. That means less revenue has been realized. And may, after giving the SSC an opportunity of being heard, and after making purposes to be made, such inquiry as it thinks necessary, pass an order or pass such order thereon, as in his view the circumstances of the case would justify, including an order enhancing or modifying the assessment or cancelling the assessment and directing a fresh assessment to be made. That means the Joint Commissioner or the Commissioner of Taxes can call for any proceeding under this ordinance. He can examine the records of any proceeding. That means the proceeding was done by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. Now the records could be called by the Joint Commissioner or the Commissioner of Taxes. How to do that? As I said to you that the Joint Commissioner or the Commissioner of Taxes is responsible for revising the order made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So he has got some functions. Joint Commissioner has got some functions to do with regard to that. As he is the supervising authority, it is part of his duty to examine the records of proceedings done by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. What he does, he actually inspects the circles of the DCTs. There are two types of inspection conducted by the Joint Commissioner of Taxes. One inspection is called short inspection, and another inspection is called orthodox inspection. Orthodox inspection means an inspection for a longer period and examines quite a good number of files. And short inspection is comparatively for a short period, and number of files are few which are inspected by the Joint Commissioner of Taxes. So these two types of inspections are conducted by the Joint Commissioners of Taxes, and during the inspection, if it comes to the notice of the Joint Commissioner of Taxes that an order has been found to be erroneous, he can go through the file and he can see the records, what have been kept in the file, supporting the income and supporting the assessment, of course. So after thorough examination of the file, the Joint Commissioner can come to a decision that this order has been found erroneous. One moment. So after the order has been found to be erroneous, the Joint Commissioner can direct the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes to revise the assessment order. They can ask the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes to enhance the sale, or they can ask to impose the relevant percentage of tax, that means rate of tax, what is actually relevant to that income. Or he can ask the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes to add some income which has been escaped at the time of hearing. So any instruction which he thinks suitable is given to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. Salam. And the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes is bound to revise the assessment as per direction given by the Joint Commissioner of Taxes. So these are the reasons why an order is to be revised, and the Joint Commissioner of Taxes would actually enhance the total income of the SSC, which is in line with the revenue, enhanced revenue of the government. Then other provision in this section is that no order shall be made under subsection 1 after the expiry of 4 years from the date of the order sought to be revised. So the Joint Commissioner of Taxes, he can revise the assessment order within 4 years from the end of the year in which the assessment was made. That means no order shall be made under subsection 1 after the expiry of 4 years from the date of the order sought to be revised. That is, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes made the assessment on a particular date. So from the date of the order issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes or signed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, within 4 years' time, the Joint Commissioner of Taxes can ask the DCT to revise the order. But if it is beyond 4 years, then he cannot order to revise the original order made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So the time limit is actually 4 years. Okay. And this section also said about the causes of error. That means when the order is deemed to be erroneous. It has also been mentioned here. In this section, an order shall be deemed to be erroneous if, in the opinion of the Commissioner or the inspecting Joint Commissioner, as the case may be, any income is misclassified in the order, or any provision of this ordinance is misinterpreted in making the order is passed without making verification which should have been made. The order is passed allowing any relief without inquiring into the claim. The order, direction, or instruction issued by the board under section 8 has not been observed or followed in the order. So sometimes there is a there is an instruction from the board, that means the National Board of Revenue, to take into account when the assessment would be completed or when the assessment needs to be completed. So if there is such an instruction from the National Board of Revenue, and if that instruction is not followed, then the Joint Commissioner can consider the assessment order to be erroneous, because the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes did not take into account the instruction given by the National Board of Revenue. So that's why this is also treated as an erroneous order. Or the order is erroneous for reasons apparent from the record. But if the Joint Commissioner also thinks that the order is erroneous from the records means there could be some vouchers which are not very much visible, or the voucher is not distinct, and it cannot be, made out something from the voucher. So what is the figure that is in the voucher? Does it reflect the sale? Does it reflect the purchase or anything else? So it cannot be made out. So that's why it seems that it is erroneous from the record. And another question is how an income can be misclassified. Misclassified means, say for example, you have to calculate the income from business and also income from capital gain. The plant and machinery that has been used in the business has been sold out by the SSC. And because of the sale of the asset, a sale proceed has been received by him. So when calculating the income from the sale of the asset, there is a likelihood that two incomes would arise, not only one income. And out of the two incomes, one could be income from business or profession, and another could be income from capital gain. So if the receipt does not make it, that means it does not calculate two incomes. So the income he will be calculating, say for example, he is calculating income from business only. So he actually escaped the calculation of capital gain. So in that case, this is misclassified. Or if you have income from lotteries, income from crossword puzzles, income from casino, anything, which should be classified under Section 33. But the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, he has classified it as business income. So something like that. So when income is not classified properly, in that case, it is misclassified. And because of the misclassification, there might be difference in rates of taxes sometimes, not always, but sometimes. And you will see that when there is a manufacturing of cigarette or tobacco, etc., the rate of tax is quite high. But if you think that this is business, and I will apply the rate of business on that income, it will not be proper. So that's why misclassification is there. And it can come to the notice of the Joint Commissioner of Taxes or Commissioner of Taxes. So he can accordingly direct the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes to revise it as per the provisions of law. So I think this is all about the question number 1. And short questions are there. Answers are of course short, but you have to go through the section, relevant section, which is 120. And this is also related to some other sections like section 8, section 10, etc. So if you just remember all this, you might see some questions regarding this section in the exam. Is it okay for you?
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay, then let us go to question number 2. Can the Commissioner of Taxes revise an order made by any authority subordinate to him, which becomes prejudicial to the SSC? What is the limitation of time to be considered by the Commissioner of Taxes in order to revise the order made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes? Can the Commissioner of Taxes extend the time for application made by the SSC to revise the assessment order? If there is an appeal already preferred by the SSC to the appellate authority, and further to that, if the SSC applies to the Commissioner of Taxes for revision of the assessment, what would be the action from the Commissioner of Taxes in this regard? An SSC has submitted an application for revision of the assessment order, having the fact that income was shown in the return at an amount of 10 lakhs and paid taxes on that amount at 20,000 only. In this circumstance, whether Commissioner of Taxes can revise the order of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes upon application made by the SSC. Also suppose that the Commissioner of Taxes received an application from the SSC for revision of the assessment order to revise it on 25th of January 2022. But this has not been revised by the Commissioner of Taxes till now. What would be the outcome for such a non-action? There are a number of questions here, and definitely this is related to one section, and that section is section 121. That is the revisional part of the Commissioner of Taxes. So he is the Commissioner of Taxes of a zone, responsible for a zone and chief of the zone. He is not Commissioner of Taxes Appeals. Rather, he is an administrative Commissioner of Taxes. And under him, he has got Additional Commissioner of Taxes, Joint Commissioner of Taxes, Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, Assistant Commissioner of Taxes, and Extra Assistant Commissioner of Taxes. So many officers are under him. The primary function of the Commissioner of Taxes is to realize revenue, as a target has been given to that zone, that is the budget allocation. Budget for revenue that is allocated to a particular zone. And the primary function of the Commissioner of Taxes is to realize that revenue. Now, the Commissioner of Taxes has got some other functions as well. Revision of the assessment order. Whenever the assessment is made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, the SSC may not be satisfied with the order issued by the DCT. So, if he is not satisfied with the order issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, what he can do? He can prefer an appeal against the order made by the DCT. So if he wants to prefer an appeal, it means that he would prefer an appeal to the appellate joint commissioner or appellate additional commissioner or commissioner appeals. These are the appellate authorities to whom the appeal should be preferred. But if the SSC thinks that I will not go to the appellate authority, rather I will go to the Commissioner of Taxes to revise the order made by the DCT, And since Commissioner of Taxes has got the power to do it, he can entertain the application made by the SSC. Why an SSC can take such a decision? That means why he should go to the Commissioner of Taxes rather than going to the appellate authorities. It is because of the fact that the SSC may know the Commissioner of Taxes well, and he is also sure that Commissioner of Taxes will entertain his application for revision of the order. And he also knows that the Commissioner of Taxes cannot make an order prejudicial to the interest of the SSC. He can revise the assessment order, but he cannot do anything which will go against the SSC. Only he can make an order which will go in favor of the SSC. So if the sale is estimated by the DCT at a higher figure, the Commissioner of Taxes cannot enhance it. He can reduce it. So if he reduces it, it means that it has gone in favor of the SSC. But if he enhances it, it means that it has gone against the SSC, which is called prejudicial to the interest of the SSC. He cannot do that. So that's why sometimes the SSC would like to refer an appeal against the order made by the DCT to the Commissioner of Taxes. So what is the first question here? Can the Commissioner of Taxes revise an order made by any authority subordinate to him, which becomes prejudicial to the SSC? No, he cannot do that. Because he can revise the assessment order made by the DCT or by the Joint Commissioner, whoever he is. He cannot enhance it, rather he can reduce the income calculated by the DCT, and in that way it should go in favor of the SSC, not against the SSC. So since the law actually bars him from doing it, he cannot do that. What is the limitation of time to be considered by the Commissioner of Taxes in order to revise the order made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes? So when the Commissioner of Taxes can entertain the application for revision made by the SSC, and there is a time limit when the SSC can apply for revision of the assessment order. When he receives the assessment order from the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, from the date of the receipt of the assessment order from the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, within 60 days, he can apply to the Commissioner of Taxes for revision of the said order. But the Commissioner of Taxes can extend the date if he is satisfied with the reasons stated by the SSC that he was barred from applying for sufficient reasons within the date. Within the date means within 60 days time. He could not submit the application, and he had got some proper reasons for not doing it within the specified time. So the Commissioner of Taxes can extend the time. and he can entertain the application made by the associate. So the answer to the question, can the Commissioner of Taxes extend the time for application made by the associate to revise the assessment order? Yes, he can do. If there is an appeal already preferred by the associate to the appellate authority, and further to that, if the associate applies to the Commissioner of Taxes for revision of the assessment, what would be the action from the Commissioner of Taxes in this regard? It has been said that the SSC has already preferred an appeal against the order of the Deputy Commissioner of Tax.
আচ্ছা, আপনারা কি শুনতে পাচ্ছেন ভাই? কথা তো শোনা যায় না।
স্যার তো নাই।
ও, এই কারণেই স্যার মনে হয় লগ আউট হয়ে গেছে।
Sorry, there was a disruption. So what we were discussing is an SSC who has preferred an appeal against the order made by the DCT, and the appeal is pending with the appellate authority. And further to that, he has made an application to the Commissioner of Taxes for revision of the assessment order made by the DCT. So what should be the action to be taken by the to the Commissioner of Taxes? By the Commissioner of Taxes, the Commissioner of Taxes would not entertain the application made by the SSC for revision, since the appeal is pending with the appellate authority. In that case, he has to reject it, and accordingly he will reject. Then another question here, an SSC has submitted an application for revision of the assessment order, having the fact that his total income was shown in the return at an amount of 10 lakh. That means his income was 10 lakh. He has shown it in his return when he submitted it before the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, and paid taxes on that amount at 20,000 only. So he paid taxes at 20,000 while submitting the return showing income of 10 lakhs. In this circumstance, whether Commissioner of Taxes can revise the order of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes upon application made by the SSC. So is there anything which restricts the Commissioner of Taxes to revise the assessment order because of this? Yes, of course, it restricts the action of the Commissioner of Taxes, because when the SSC does not pay taxes under Section 74, taxes means correct taxes. That means whatever he will show his income in the return, he has to pay taxes on that, the applicable tax. If the applicable tax on this 10 lakh taka is 1 lakh taka, for example, or 50,000 taka, whatever it is, then he should have paid 50,000 taka or 1 lakh taka, which is applicable. The Commissioner of Taxes would not entertain his application, that is, application for revision. Also suppose that the Commissioner of Taxes received an application from the SSC for revision of the assessment order to revise it on 25th January 2022. Another application received by the Commissioner of Taxes for revision of the order on 25th of January 2022. He received an application from the SSC for revision of the order. But this has not been revised by the Commissioner of Taxes till now. So today it is 1st of July, and still the Commissioner of Taxes has not taken any action on the revision application. What would be the outcome for such a non-action? Since the Commissioner of Taxes has not taken any action, then what is the outcome? What is the consequence? The consequence is that the points made by the SSC for revision of the assessment order would be deemed to have been accepted by the Commissioner of Taxes. That means, for example, if, let us suppose, if the income was calculated by the DCT at 20 lakhs, and the SSC has, in his application, made a point that the sale was estimated at a very high figure, which is not practical. It should have been reduced to an amount which was estimated in the previous year. Say, for example, the sale was estimated at taka 50 lakhs in the previous year. And this year, it has been estimated at taka 70 lakhs. So the prayer of the SSC is that it should be reduced this year as well to 50 lakh taka. This is the appeal, and this is the point. Since the Commissioner of Taxes has not taken any action on the application made by the SSC, and it has already 1st of July, and his application was made on 25th of January 2022. So that's why the Commissioner of Taxes has to accept the arguments, has to accept the appellate points made by the SSC, meaning that the order is not to be issued by the Commissioner of Taxes, rather it is deemed to have been accepted by the Commissioner of Taxes. Hence, the order has to be revised by the DCT accordingly. And everything will go in favor of the SSC. So I hope this is up to now, this is clear. But we can have a look at the section 121. Therein everything is said. 121, original 121 has been repealed, and it has been replaced by 121A. The Commissioner may, on an application made by the SSC, call for the record of any proceeding under this ordinance in which an order has been passed by an authority subordinate to him, and may make such company or cause such inquiry to be made, and subject to the provision of this ordinance may pass such order thereon, not being an order prejudicial to the SSC as he thinks fit. So here the gist is that Commissioner can ask for the records of the proceeding, and he can make an inquiry into the case or cause an inquiry to be made into the case, but he cannot pass an order which is prejudicial to the interest of the SSC. It means that he cannot do anything which will go against the SSC. Then the application for revision of an order under the ordinance passed by any authority subordinate to the Commissioner shall be made within 60 days of the date on which such order is communicated to the SSC, or within such further period as the Commissioner may consider fit to allow, on being satisfied that the SSC was prevented by sufficient cause from making the application within the said 60 days. What we have already said, that from the date of communication of the assessment order made by the DCT to the SSC, he has to apply for revision of the order within 60 days time. If he cannot do it, he can also apply to the Commissioner of Taxes to extend the date. And if the Commissioner of Taxes is satisfied that because of sufficient reasons, the SSC could not submit the application within the 60 days time, then he can extend it. Okay, then the Commissioner shall not exercise his power under subsection 1 in respect of any order, where an appeal against the order lies to the appellate commissioner or to the Commissioner appeals or to the appellate tribunal, and the time within which such appeal may be made has not expired, or the SSC has not waived his right of appeal. It means that we have already said that when appeal is actually pending with the appellate authority, then the Commissioner of Taxes cannot entertain such an application for revision by the SSC. But here is one point. The point is that if the SSC says that, okay, I waive the right of appeal, that means I am withdrawing the appeal from the appellate authority. In that case, the Commissioner of Taxes can, entertain the application for revision. And where the order is pending or an appeal before the appellate joint commissioner, or it has been made the subject of appeal to the commissioner or to the appellate tribunal. So this is also the same case. The appeal might be lying with the appellate joint commissioner or appellate commissioner of appellate additional commissioner or commissioner of taxes appeals, or with the appellate tribunal, any authority or any forum. And then it has been said, no application under subsection 1 shall lie unless it is accompanied by a fee of 200 taka and the undisputed portion of the tax has been paid. So it is important. As I gave you an example, that the income was estimated at taka or determined at taka 20 lakhs, and the SSC, not determined actually, but it was shown by the SSC at taka 20 lakhs, and tax was paid at taka, I think 20,000, we said. So here the provision is that the undisputed portion of the tax has been paid. It should have been paid. If it is not paid, then the commissioner of taxes shall not entertain it. So undisputed portion means whatever you have shown as your income, you must have paid the tax on it. That means the tax applicable to it. So for 20 lakhs of taka, 10 lakhs of taka, 20,000 taka tax cannot be applicable. This is not the actual tax that should have been paid on taka 10 lakhs. So the tax has been paid at a lower amount, and hence this cannot be said the undisputed portion of tax has been paid. So undisputed tax has not been paid, and hence it means from the legal term that tax under section 74 has not been paid. So since it has not been paid under section 74, in that case, the commissioner of taxes cannot accept it. That is, cannot accept the application made by the SSC for revision of the order. And again, it has been said, notwithstanding anything contained in this ordinance, an application for revision made under subsection 1 shall be deemed to have been allowed if the commissioner fails to make an order thereon within a period of 60 days from the date of filing the application. So as we said here, that the application for revision was made on 25th of January 2022, but still now it has not been revised by the commissioner of taxes. So it means that already a few months have expired or elapsed. We should say it is not 60 days. So it should have been disposed of within 60 days time. That means from the 25th of January, it should have been 25th of March. By 25th of March, it should have been disposed of by the commissioner of taxes. Since he has not done it, it will be deemed that the revision has already made by the commissioner of taxes, and whatever demand has been placed by the SSC before the commissioner of taxes have been accepted, and the deputy commissioner of taxes would have to revise it accordingly. So that's the thing. This is all about your question number 2. Is it okay for you or not?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Sir, the application of the SSC must be resolved within the 6 months of the 6 months, within the 6 months.
I have read it out to you. This is subsection 6 of section 121A. Notwithstanding anything contained in this ordinance, an application for revision made under subsection 1 shall be deemed to have been allowed if the commissioner fails to make an order thereon within a period of 60 days from the date of filing the application. So when the application will be filed by the SSC, to the Commissioner of Taxes, he should dispose of the case within 60 days time from the date of application. 60 days means 2 months.
Thank you, sir.
If he does not dispose the case within 2 months time, then it will be deemed that it has been automatically allowed by the Commissioner of Taxes. Okay. Then let us go to section 3. Sorry, question 3. Assume that the assessment year 21-22 has expired. Mr. X, an assessee, did not submit return under section 75. He was not issued a notice by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes under section 77 to submit the return. The assessee also did not submit the return spontaneously. What is the action that could be taken by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes in order to collect the return from the assessee? What are the limitations for the issuance of notice under subsection 1 of section 93 under the Income Tax Ordinance 1984? Let us assume that an assessee had a windfall income of Taka 50 lakhs for income year 1981-1982. Is it lawful on the part of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes to issue a notice asking for the return of the relevant income year? What are the time limits for the assessment to be made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes when notice under subsection 1 of section 93 was issued by him? So there are also some few questions here, and I believe we can answer the questions one by one. First one is that the assessment year 2021-2022 has expired. Expired means on 30th day of June, because yesterday was the last day of the assessment year 21-22. So what happens? An assessee is supposed, individual assessee I would say, individual assessee is supposed to submit his return under section 75. So he was to submit the return on the 30th day of November or before the 30th day of November for the current assessment year 21-22. But he did not submit the return. And when the tax day was gone, tax day means 30th November, you all know. And when 30th day of November expired, the assessee could submit the return, but he did not submit the return. But in that case, it was the responsibility of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes to issue a notice under section 77 asking the assessee to submit the return for the assessment year 21-22. And as per law, the DCT can issue a notice under section 77 for the return up to the 30th day of June of the assessment year. That means yesterday was the last day for issuance of the notice under section 77 by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes asking for submission of return. But he did not do that. The DCT did not do that. And as I said to you, the assessee was not also submitting the return during this period. That means he did not submit the return spontaneously. On his own, he did not submit the return. What is the action that could be taken by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes in order to collect the return from the assessee? Since the last day of the assessment year is expired, That is yesterday. It is expired. And now today is the 1st of July. This is another assessment year. So what the DCT will do now? What will be the action from his side with regard to the submission of the return? Tell me what the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes should do.
Je vais étudier. Je veux étudier.
Any answer from your side? Since the last day of the assessment year is expired, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes would have to issue a notice under Section 93 asking for the submission of the return. That means for submission of the return of the assessment year 2021-2022, the DCT should issue a notice under Section 93. So if you look at Section 93, what is said there? So the title of this section is that tax, etc., escaping payment. So here in this section, subsection 4, you should read. A notice under subsection 1 may be issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So notice under subsection 1, why? If based on the information from an audit, assessment, or any other proceeding under this ordinance, or from any other source, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes has reason to believe that any sum payable by an assessee under this ordinance has escaped payment in any assessment year, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes may issue a notice in the form specified by the board upon the assessee requiring him to file for the relevant assessment year within the time as specified in the notice a return of his income along with the applicable statement and documents. Pay on or before the filing of the return the sum that has been escaped payment. So whenever the DCT finds out that a payment has been escaped, that means income has escaped assessment. It was not shown in the return, or it was not brought to the notice of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, or the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes failed to notice that. So what could be done? Under subsection 4, it is said, a notice under subsection 1 may be issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes anytime, where for the relevant assessment year, no return was filed and no assessment was made. So here, the assessment year is expired, as I said to you, and no notice was issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes under Section 77, and no assessment was made. So both the conditions have been fulfilled under this subsection, and hence a notice under subsection 1 of Section 93 could be issued to the SSC asking for submission of the return. This is clause A of subsection 4. We should remember that when SSC has not submitted the return and the city has not also issued a notice to the SSC for submission of the return, and assessment has not been made by the DCT, in that circumstance, notice under subsection could be issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. And again, it has been said in clause B, within 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year, where for the relevant assessment year, no return was filed, but assessment is completed. But here, the situation or the scenario is different. Scenario is different means the SSC did not submit the return for the relevant assessment year, but assessment was completed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes in the absence of the return. In that circumstance, within 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year, the notice could be issued. Notice under subsection 1 of Section 93 could be issued. Within 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year, where for the relevant assessment year no return was filed, but assessment is completed. So when assessment was completed by the DCT, from the date of completion of the assessment, not completion of the assessment, but from the date of end of the assessment year, that is last date of the assessment year. So from the last date of the assessment year, within 6 years' time, the notice could be issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes asking for a fresh return under Section 93. And then again, another clause says, within 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year in any other case. So in other cases, except the two I have mentioned to you now, the notice could be issued within 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. That means when the assessment year ends, that is the 30th day of June, as I said to you yesterday, from the end of the assessment year, from today, within 6 years' time, a notice could be issued. So there are 3 scenarios, and you have to consider the 3 scenarios, whichever is applicable. And in that way, you can actually issue a notice under subsection 1 of Section 93. Now, the question is, let us assume that an SSC had a windfall income of Taka 50 lakhs for income year 1981-82. Is it lawful on the part of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes to issue a notice asking for the return of the relevant income? So, whatever we have read out now, it seems to us that whenever an income has been escaped, the notice under subsection 1 of Section 93 could be issued anytime. Here, the SSC had an income that was a windfall income. Windfall income means income from maybe lotteries or crossword puzzles or from casinos, whatever it is. So he actually earned an income in the income year 1981-82, but he did not show the income in his return, or he did not submit the return. So now it has come to the notice of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes that the gentleman actually earned income in the year 1981-82, but he did not submit the return, and also his income was not assessed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes at that time. Now, whether it would be lawful to issue a notice under section 1, subsection 1 of section 93. Yes, it is lawful, and the notice could be issued under subsection 1 of section 93. But if you ask me the question appropriately, what should be the action? The notice should be issued under section 34 of the Income Tax Act 1922. So before this law, that is the present ordinance, was enacted, there was another law, and that law was called the Income Tax Act 1922. So a notice under section 34 could be issued, and that is the section 93. Section 93 means section 34 of that time. It could be issued under section 34, that is also possible, no problem. What are the time limits for the assessment to be made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes when notice under subsection 1 of section 93 was issued by him? So time limit, you can find out the time limit here. So we have already given you an indication about the time limit, but in section 94, specific time limits are there. In 94, subsection 2, an assessment under section 93 may be made within 2 years from the end of the year in which the notice under subsection 1 of section 93 was issued. So as we said that the SSC did not submit the return for the assessment year, and no notice under section 77 was issued, and assessment was not completed. So in that case, notice under subsection 1 of section 93 was issued, and hence the assessment would be made within 2 years from the end of the year in which the notice under subsection 1 of section 93 was issued. So it depends on the date. Say, for example, the notice under subsection 1 of section 93 has been issued today, that is 1st of July. So end of the year, in this case is, you have to refer to the definition of year. If you go to section 2, you will find the definition of year, that is 269. That is subsection 69 of section 2. Year means a financial year. So when the notice was issued, the notice is issued today, we assume, and this is the financial year, and financial year ends on 30th June next year, 2023. So from 1st of July 2023, you have to complete the assessment within 2 years' time. That is 2 years from the first day of July 2022. It should be completed by the year 2025. So 2 years, you have to count 2 years. Is it clear to you? Up to now, whether this is clear or not.
Not clear, sir.
Clear or not clear? Not clear?
Yes, sir. Could not understand.
You haven't understood it.
Yes.
Okay. So we can again discuss.
Yes, sir.
All right, good. And do you need any break?
Yes, 10 minutes.
Okay, take the break, then we discuss.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you.
স্যার আপনার কথা শুনতে পাচ্ছি না আমরা।
Okay, everybody back. So we can discuss that question which you discussed earlier. That means question number 3. So first of all, we should know that when the SSC has to submit the return, that means the individual SSC is supposed to submit the return under section 75 of the Income Tax Ordinance 1984. So what does it mean? It means that you have to submit the return on the 30th November, that is the tax day, or before the tax day. Meaning that you can submit the return for the assessment year on the first day of July or any date, but you have to submit it by the 30th day of November, which is the tax day. That is the last day. But you can also submit the return upon an application made by yourself before the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes for extension of the time. That means you can get the time extended. That is also possible. The DCT can extend your time for 2 months. And again, if you need the time, you can further apply for extension. And the DCT can also extend for another 2 months with the prior approval of the Inspecting Joint Commissioner of Taxes. So in all, 4 months, the time could be extended. But you have to submit the return. But if you fail to submit the return by the tax day, in that case, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes has got an obligation to issue a notice. To issue a notice under section 77. The notice should be issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes asking you to submit the return within the date specified in the notice. So it means that when the tax day expires, then the notice under section 77 should be issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. And there is a time limit within which or by which the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes can issue the notice under section 77. What is the time limit? The time limit is up to the 30th day of June of the assessment year. That means 30th day of June has expired yesterday. Because that was the last day of the assessment year. So up to yesterday, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes could issue a notice under section 77 asking you to submit the return for the assessment year 2021-2022. So that was possible by him. So let us suppose that he did not issue notice under section 77 and the assessment year has already been expired. So if the assessment year has already been expired, it means that the DCT cannot now issue a notice under section 77. Rather, he can issue a notice under section 93, that is subsection 1 of section 93. From today, 1st of July, he has to issue a notice under section 93. So, when notice under subsection 93 has been issued, subsection 1 of 93, section 93 has been issued, then you are supposed to submit the return. And the assessment should be completed. When such a notice is issued to you, asking you to submit the return, then there should be a time limit for making the assessment by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So when the notice is issued, say for example today, the notice under subsection 1 of section 93 has been issued today. So from the end of the year, means from the end of the financial year. The financial year has started today and it will end on the 30th day of June next year. So 30th June of 2023 is the time, that means the time of the financial year in which the notice has been issued. And from the end of the financial year, that means from 30th day of June next year, 2023, the assessment has to be completed within 2 years' time. 30th June 2023, 30th June, meaning that it should be from July, actually, 31st July 2023, and 1st July 2024, and 1st July 2025. This is the 2-year period. That is, the assessment has to be completed by the 30th day of June 2025. Since the notice was issued during this financial year. So within 2 years' time, the assessment has to be completed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. And another question was here, that was SSC had a windfall income of Taka 50 lakhs for the income year 1981-82. So it was not actually shown in the return submitted by the SSC. That means the SSC did not submit the return. And the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes also did not make the assessment. It escaped the notice of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, but it has come to the notice of the DCT now because of some information provided by any authority or by any person concerned. And since it has been known to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes that an income of Taka 50 lakh was escaped, and the SSC earned that income for the income year 81-82. So the assessment year was 82-83. So during the assessment year 82-83, it should have been assessed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So what is to be done now? The Deputy Commissioner of Taxes should issue a notice under subsection 1 of section 93, asking the SSC to submit the return. As I said to you that in that assessment year, that is 82-83, the present income tax ordinance was not in existence. It was not in use. That time, Income Tax Act 1922 was in use. What could be done? The present Deputy Commissioner of Taxes can issue a notice under section 34. 34 means 93. So under this ordinance, section 93, and the same section is section 34 under the Income Tax Act 1922. So a notice under section 34 could be issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes for making the assessment for the escaped income, that is Taka 50 lakhs for the assessment year 82-83. So that's the thing. And that is also said, what are the time limits for the assessment to be made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes when notice under subsection 1 of section 93 was issued by him. So that is, as I mentioned to you, you have to go through section 94. In section 94, the limitation for making the assessment has been given. So when notice under subsection 1 of section 93 has been issued, as I told you before, that from the end of the income year, from the end of the financial year, you have to complete the assessment within 2 years' time. So that is the limitation. But there are other cases. That means if the SSC has not submitted the return, but assessment has been completed, then from the end of the assessment year, within 6 years' time, the notice under subsection 1 of section 93 could be issued. So that is another provision. But here, as per question, it should be completed within 2 years' time, as the notice under subsection 1 of section 93 has been issued. And the condition is that the SSC has not submitted the return and the assessment has not been made as well by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So under these circumstances, the assessment should be completed within 2 years' time from the end of the financial year in which the notice has been issued by the DCT. So whether this is clear or not. Any point which you did not make out? If you have understood it well, if you haven't understood it, you can tell me. Since there is no answer from your side, then we understand that you have understood it. And then we can move to question number 4. Question number 4, what is the speculation business? How to offset the losses which arise from the speculation business? What is a forward sale? When an agreement is reached with a trader to supply raw materials to an SSC, would it be treated as a speculation business or not? So speculation business, it means that a business or a trade involving risk, involving high risk, we should say. That means you are buying shares from the stock exchange in order to keep it for a short period and then sell it out. So why you bought the shares? You bought the shares because of the profit, which is called speculative profit. It means that the price is expected by you to rise, and from the rising prices, you will have some benefit. That means you will sell it out and you will make a profit, which is actually called capital gain. And that is the speculation business. That means when the business is done with the objective of making a very quick profit or a very high profit, where you will see an involvement of high risk is there, but still that you are doing the business. So that will be treated as a speculation business. And how to offset the losses of the speculation business? So there might be losses, of course, because when your expectation is not met, that means you could not predict it properly, or the market actually betrayed you. In that case, you might have incurred loss. So if you incur a loss, in that case, you have to offset the loss or set off the loss. How to set off the loss? So setting off loss, there is a specific section with regard to that. So let us go to section 37. If you go to section 37, you will find set off of losses. But if you move, you will find in section 39, carry forward of loss in speculation business. In this section, it has been said, where for any assessment year, the result of computation of income in respect of any speculation business carried on by the SSC is a loss, it shall be set off only against the income, if any, from any other speculation business carried on by him and assessable for that assessment year. It is said that if you incur a loss from any speculation business, it could be set off against the loss of similar speculation business. That means another speculation business, if you have any.
Sir, can you repeat the section number, please?
39.
Thank you, sir.
39. And again, subsection 2 says, where for any assessment year, any loss computed in respect of a speculation business has not been wholly set off under subsection 1. So much of the loss as has not been set off, or the whole loss where the SSC has no income from any other speculation business, shall, subject to the provisions of this ordinance, be carried forward to the following assessment year. And it shall be set off against the income, if any, from any speculation business carried on by him and assessable for that assessment year. And if the loss cannot be wholly set off, the amount of loss not so set off shall be carried forward to the next assessment year, and so on, for not more than 6 successive assessment years. So here the gist is that when there is a loss from speculation business, it could be set off against profit from speculation business. That means any other speculation business, if you have, and if you make a profit out of that, then the loss could be set off against that profit. Okay, let us see, then there is no other business, only one business, speculation business you have in an assessment year. So what you have to do? You have to carry forward the loss to the next assessment year. So whenever you make a profit out of the speculation business in the next assessment year, then the loss of the previous assessment year would be set off against the profit of that assessment year. So you can continue with that for 6 successive years. That means the loss which cannot be set off against the profit, you can carry forward the loss for 6 successive years only, but not beyond 6 successive years. So if you have still loss after 6 successive years, you cannot carry it forward. Okay, then what is a forward sale? Forward sale, you understand very well that I sell my product or I sell my services in advance. That means I am not yet finished with the production of the product or with the manufacture of the product, but I have come to an agreement with somebody that I will be selling this product for the next 1 year at a certain price. So I have sold it out to him now, although I have not supplied it, and I have to keep it reserved for him. And the price will be the same price as I have set out in the agreement.
Sir, can I make a question in the regarding the earlier question to clear myself as well?
Which one?
The set of loss. That is the loss from the speculation business. We cannot adjust with the other income, with the income from other sources.
Yes.
I see. Okay, sir. Now clear.
Only from the speculation business profit. If you can make a profit of the speculation business, then yes, you can set it off. But if you do not have speculation business in that year, so it should be carried forward to the next year. Only when you can make a profit from the speculation business, you can set it off. And you can continue with that for 6 years only, not beyond that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, then forward sale I have mentioned to you. I hope this is not difficult. This is easily understandable. And the next part of the question is that when an agreement is reached with a trader to supply raw materials to an SOC, would it be treated as a speculation business or not? So I have reached an agreement with a trader to supply me raw material so that I can manufacture the final product. Let us suppose ready-made garment I am manufacturing, so I have to buy yarn from him, from another trader. So while I buy yarn from another trader, I can use it for making the ready-made garment. So I have reached an agreement with him to supply me that yarn so that I do not have any problem with my export of the ready-made garments to the global market or to a particular trader in any other country. So in that case, whether it would be treated as a speculation business or not. So the answer is, this is not a speculation business because I am just buying the raw materials, or I have reached an agreement with that trader to supply me the raw material in order to guard against loss. Guard against loss means in the meantime, if the price of raw material rises, in that case, my cost of production will be higher. And in that case, I can incur a loss because I have also agreement with other importers of other countries. So in that case, I may incur a loss. So in order to guard against the loss, I have reached that agreement with the trader of yarn. And in that case, this is not a speculation business. So this is a normal business, but in order to guard against the loss. So you can go to the definition chapter, section 2. Section 2, you will see one definition with regard to speculation business. So starts with S, speculation business. It is 261. And you see, speculation business means business in which a contract for the purchase or sale of any commodity, including stocks and shares, is periodically or ultimately settled otherwise than by the actual delivery or transfer of the commodity or scripts, but does not include business in which a contract in respect of raw materials or merchandise is entered into by a person in the course of his manufacturing or mercantile business to guard against loss through future price fluctuations for the purpose of fulfilling his other contracts for the actual delivery of the goods to be manufactured or the merchandise to be sold by him. So here it is clear. It is clear that I am a businessman. Say, for example, I am supplying the product to a European customer. And in that regard, I have got an agreement. And now I have to constantly supply the product. And in order to make sure about the constant supply of the product at a certain price, my cost of production should be kept stable. And for that reason, I have to make sure the supply of the raw materials. That's why I have gone into an agreement or reached an agreement with the trader of the yarn, and he is supplying me the yarn. And with that yarn, I am making my production and supplying the ready-made garments to the European customers. So this is for future price fluctuations so that I do not incur any loss. So the question here, you will write the answer accordingly, mentioning the definition of the speculation business. Since this is not a speculation business as per definition 261, so that's why it would be treated as a normal business, not a speculation business. So this is question number 4. I believe question number 4 is understandable to you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then go to question number 5. What is the system of maintaining accounts of a doctor and a lawyer? What would be the procedure of assessment of the income of the doctor and the lawyer? Assume that the doctor does not maintain books of accounts. So how the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes would justify his assessment of income of the doctor? So these are professionals. That means one is a doctor, another is a lawyer. So both of them has got consultancy service. And the doctor may be doing some surgery works, etc., diagnostic works, or any other works related to the treatment of diseases. And the lawyer, he actually gives advice on legal matters to the SSC, or he fights in favor of the SSC in the court. But everybody, that is, each of them has got, a clientele. Clientele means the number of clients they have got, and for whom they have to maintain a case register, or you can say a case diary. And in the diary, they will write down the names of the patients or the clients. They will write down the names of the diseases or consultations and the fee that has been received by them. And also the diagnostic reports. The diagnostic report means consultation might be different for one disease and maybe for a number of diseases. So that has to be mentioned there. And the fee that has been charged by the doctor for consultation, and the surgery fee for operating surgery of the patient, etc., etc. So this has to be written there. And for this, what do you have to do? You have to go to the rules. Rules means the income tax rules 1984, that you have to read properly in order to understand how the books of accounts should be maintained by a doctor and also by a barrister or lawyer or a legal expert. So if you go to the income tax rules 1984, you have to read rule 8. Rule 8 of income tax rules. There everything has been said. Maintenance of accounts by doctors, legal practitioners, etc. What has to be maintained? One case register has to be maintained. It is said here that case register to be maintained by medical practitioners, that is doctors, surgeons, physicians, dentists, psychiatrists, homeopaths, tabibs, then vaids, veterinary surgeons, or by any other name. So a sample has been given here. The sample includes serial number, patient's name, name of treatment, that means consultation, surgical treatment, injection, visit, etc. Then treatment charges, there is a column for that, and there is also a remark column here. And for the legal practitioners, you will also maintain a case register, and in the case register, it will include serial number, name and address of the client, brief description or particulars of the case. Confidential details are not required. Then amount of remuneration, etc. received, then remarks. And how he received the fee, that should also be mentioned. Cash or check, and total taka, whether in full or in part settlement, that should also be mentioned. So receipt book has to be maintained. That means the receipt has to be issued to the patient or to the client, etc. So these are the systems to be maintained by the doctor or by a legal expert or lawyer, barrister, whatever you call. So that is the usual way of doing it. However, If one doctor does not maintain books of accounts, then how the deputy commissioner would be able to make an assessment? Because he has to calculate the total income of the doctor. How he can arrive at that? The doctor does not maintain any books of accounts, or even if he maintains books of accounts, but he is not willing to submit it to the deputy commissioner of taxes. So in that case, what the deputy commissioner of taxes would do, he will send an inspector of taxes to the place of the business of the doctor, and the inspector of taxes would calculate the income by looking at the number of the patients he is consulted. That means there is a serial number and a register is there where serial numbers are maintained. And if he sits there and spends some time, or maybe from the starting of the consultation and up to the end of the consultation, he will see how many patients have visited his place. And if the fee of the doctor is 1,000 taka per patient for the new patients, then he will have to find out how many new patients were there. And then he can easily calculate the fee for the patient. Say, for example, 20 new patients have been consulted by the doctor, and now 20,000 taka would be straight away the fee received by the doctor. And if they are old patients could be given 50% of the fee per head. That means they can just pay 50%, 500 taka to the doctor. And in that case, if there are 10 old patients, that would the receipt of taka 5,000 by the doctor from the old patients. So 25,000 taka would be his income for the specific period, I would say. So if it is 25,000 taka one day, the inspector of taxes can visit his place other days as well on a random basis. And after that, he can come to a decision that in average, the income of the doctor is taka 25,000 or 20,000, say for example. And he actually sits there for 20 days in his chamber. And if it is 20 days and if his average income is 20,000 taka, 20,000 times 20, whole lakh taka. So in that case, 48 lakhs of taka is received by the doctor from consultation. And that could be the total income of the assessee made by the deputy commissioner of taxes. So that is the way how he can determine the income of the doctors. Similarly, he can also come to a decision in case of the legal expert or the lawyer or barrister. And that will also depend on the number of clients he is advising. So similarly, he can also arrive at the total income of the legal expert. So that is the way. And you should just read the Rule 8 very well so that you can understand how that should be maintained. And if not, then what is the way of making the assessment by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes? Okay, then where a chartered accountant is authorized by the board to look into the genuinity of the assessment made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes or the genuinity of the accounts submitted by a company. So it actually applies to company cases. When the board comes to a decision that the company has not maintained its books of accounts properly, or there are irregularities in the accounts, then the National Board of Revenue can authorize a registered chartered accountant in order to look into the books of accounts, examine the books of accounts by exercising the power of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. And the chartered accountant can issue a notice under Section 79 in order to examine the books of the accounts. Then after examination of the books of accounts and evidences, etc., the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, the chartered accountant would make a report to the National Board of Revenue. And soon after the receipt of the report, the National Board of Revenue would forward it to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. And then the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes would issue a notice under Section 83, and the SSE would be heard in person. After hearing, the assessment would be made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So that is the usual way of doing it. Question number 7. This is with regard to, could you please mute it?
কালারে আলাদা কোয়ালিটি এক সাইজে এটা কত গ্রাম এটা কত 450 প্লাস্টিকের নিবে প্লাস্টিক 450 ফিক্স কত লাগে আমি দুটো নিতাম বড় একটা নিতাম এটা আপনি 850 টাকা কত 850 হ্যাঁ ভাই খুব বেশি বলছি এরকম দুটো নিব ভাই আর বড় একটা নিব
Hello, roll 295. Wafi bhai, please mute your.
Question number 7.
Sir, now it's fine, I think.
When an SSC who is a resident of Bangladesh is supposed to collect clearance certificate from the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes while proceeding to another country, is it always necessary that he should clear all his dues regarding the payment of income tax before proceeding to another country? So the question is whether somebody who is traveling to another country is supposed to take a clearance certificate from the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. But if it is so, then under which circumstances you have to take a clearance certificate from the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes? So you have to go to 107, section 107. So in that section, it has been said about taking the tax clearance certificate. When somebody actually wants to travel to another country and there is a likelihood that he will not again come back to Bangladesh, and he has got some dues with regard to taxation, that is income tax, in that case, he is supposed to take the take clearance certificate. Otherwise, he will not be allowed to cross the immigration area. And this is with regard to people who are staying here for doing business, but they are from other countries. But as per income tax ordinance, they are treated as residents. Because if he stays here for 182 days or more, in that case, he will be treated as a resident. So here you see in 107, the title of the section is Tax Clearance Certificate Required for Persons Living Bangladesh. So subject to such exceptions as the board may make in this behalf, a person who is not domiciled in Bangladesh, or a person who being domiciled in Bangladesh at the time of his departure is not, in the opinion of the income tax authority, likely to return to Bangladesh, shall not leave Bangladesh without obtaining from the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, authorized in this behalf by the board, a tax clearance certificate. So here it is said that when a person is domiciled in Bangladesh or when he is not domiciled and he is going abroad, and there is a likelihood that he will not return to Bangladesh, and in that case, he has to take a tax clearance certificate from the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So tax clearance certificate means a certificate saying that his taxes are cleared and there is no outstanding tax from this gentleman or from the SSC bearing TIN number so and so. If he has the intention of returning to Bangladesh, an exemption certificate which shall be issued only if the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes is satisfied that such person has such intention, and such exemption certificate may be either for a single journey or for all journeys within the period specified in this certificate. But here it is said that when the DCT is convinced that this person is going abroad, but he will come back to Bangladesh, in that case, he can issue an exemption certificate. Exemption certificate means he will return to Bangladesh and there is no question of his staying back in that country, although he has got some dues here and he will pay it off when he returns to Bangladesh. So such an exemption certificate is required. And in that case, on the basis of the exemption certificate, he is allowed to enter into the immigration area and cross the immigration area. So subsection 2 says the owner or charterer of any ship or aircraft who issues any authority to any person referred to in such section 1 for travel by such ship or aircraft from any place in Bangladesh to any place outside Bangladesh, unless such person has a certificate required by that subsection, shall be liable to pay the amount of tax, if any, which has or may become due or payable by such person, and also to a penalty which may extend to 2,000 taka, and be deemed for the purpose of recovery of such tax or penalty to be an assessee in default, and all the provisions of this ordinance shall apply accordingly. So in gist, we can say that when he is going by the aircraft or by the ship, the person who is in charge of the ship, he should actually obtain the certificate. He should see this certificate issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. Otherwise, if he accepts the concerned person as a passenger of the aircraft or as a passenger of the ship, and if he is at default, in that case, he would be liable. That is, the person in charge of the ship would be liable, and he will be treated as an assessee at default. And the tax which is due to that person would be recovered from the agent or the person in charge of the aircraft. So that is the gist here. So I believe this is also understandable to you. You can go through this section 107 very well so that you can understand the nitty-gritty of that section. Okay. So we have actually come to the end of this session. And if you do not have any question to ask me, in that case, we can call it a day. Or if you have any question, you can ask me in the next class. That is also possible.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Go through the question, the synopsis, what I have given to you, and try to solve all the questions. That will help you a lot.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very much for attending this session. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks for your patience.
Welcome.